The quantum stabilizer hummed softly as Marcus Foster adjusted the final calibrations. The midnight silence of his private laboratory was broken only by the gentle whir of equipment and his focused breathing. At 32, he'd already made breakthrough discoveries in quantum tunneling, but tonight's experiment promised something unprecedented. Just a few more minutes, he muttered, checking the readouts. The stabilizer's blue glow cast dancing shadows across his angular features as he worked. Years of dedication had led to this moment, the first attempted manipulation of quantum space on a macro scale. The air suddenly crackled with electricity. Marcus stepped back, frowning at his instruments. This wasn't supposed to happen. The quantum field readings were spiking beyond anything he'd seen before. A high-pitched whine filled the lab as reality itself seemed to ripple. No, 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 he frantically typed commands into his console, trying to shut down the experiment. But it was too late. A blinding flash of light erupted in the center of the lab, knocking him backward. As his vision cleared, Marcus found himself staring at an impossible sight. A tall, feminine figure stood where the quantum field had collapsed. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent purple hue, and her eyes glowed like twin amethysts. She wore some kind of form-fitting battle armor that left little to the imagination. Fascinating, she purred in perfect English, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. You humans are more advanced than our report suggested. Marcus scrambled to his feet, heart pounding. What are you? I am Nixura, first hunter of the stellar dominion. She stepped toward him with fluid grace. And you, Marcus Foster, have caught our attention. He backed away. How do you know my name? We've been watching your work. Your experiments with quantum manipulation drew us here. She smiled, revealing slightly pointed teeth. Though I must say, seeing you in person is far more intriguing than observing from afar. Marcus's back hit the wall. What do you want? Nixura closed the distance between them with inhuman speed. Her hand caught his chin, tilting his face up to meet her gaze. Your mind, your knowledge, and perhaps. Her eyes raked over him appreciatively, something more. Before Marcus could react, she pressed a small device against his neck. A sharp sting, then numbness spread through his body. His legs gave out, but Nixura caught him effortlessly. Don't fight it, she whispered, cradling him against her. You're far too valuable to damage. As consciousness faded, Marcus felt himself being lifted. The last thing he saw was Nixura's triumphant smile as reality warped around them. He awoke to the soft hum of machinery, different from his lab equipment. Opening his eyes, Marcus found himself in what appeared to be a medical bay, but the technology was like nothing he'd ever seen. Curved walls gleamed with an organic sheen, and holographic displays floated in the air. Good, you're awake. Nixura's voice drew his attention. She stood in the doorway, having traded her armor for a flowing garment that seemed to shift colors with her movement. Marcus tried to sit up, discovering he wasn't restrained. Where am I? My ship, currently in orbit around your moon. She approached, her movements predatory yet graceful. I apologize for the abrupt extraction, but time is critical. Time for what? Marcus demanded, fighting down panic as the reality of his situation sank in. Nixura perched on the edge of his bed, uncomfortably close. Your world stands on the brink of a conflict it doesn't even know exists. Your work with quantum physics has drawn the attention of powers far beyond Earth's understanding. She reached out, trailing a finger down his chest. Some wish to destroy your planet before you become a threat. Others, like myself, see potential. Marcus caught her hand, surprised by how warm her skin felt. And what exactly do you see? Her lips curved into a seductive smile. A partnership, perhaps. Your brilliant mind combined with our technology could reshape the galaxy. She leaned closer, her scent exotic and intoxicating. And I must admit, I find human males particularly fascinating. Marcus felt his pulse quicken, caught between fear and an undeniable attraction. Why should I trust you? Because, dear Marcus, she purred, I'm about to show you truths that will change everything you thought you knew. She stood, extending her hand. Come. Let me give you a proper tour of your new home. As Marcus took her hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was making a deal with the devil. But as Nixera led him through corridors of impossible technology, he realized his thirst for knowledge outweighed his fear. Whatever game she was playing, he was now a willing participant. Days aboard Nixera's ship blurred together as Marcus immersed himself in alien technology beyond his wildest dreams. The quantum physics he'd studied on Earth seemed primitive compared to the stellar dominion's mastery of spacetime. Yet with each revelation, new questions emerged, especially about his alluring captor. Your understanding of our systems is remarkable, Nixera observed, watching him study a holographic display of their quantum drive. She'd taken to wearing increasingly revealing outfits, testing his concentration. Most species take years to grasp even the basics. I had a good foundation, Marcus replied, trying to keep his eyes on the technical data. Though I still don't understand why you chose me specifically. There are other physicists. Nixera slid closer, her body heat distracting. None who achieved quantum manipulation without outside help. Your intuitive grasp of universal forces is unique. Her fingers traced patterns on his shoulder. Among other appealing qualities. Marcus turned to face her, tired of dancing around the subject. What's your real agenda, Nixera? The seduction act, the technology lessons, what do you want from me? Her amethyst eyes darkened. Perhaps I simply enjoy your company. Is that so hard to believe? Yes, he said firmly. You're a high-ranking military officer of an advanced civilization. I'm a human you kidnapped. This isn't a casual cultural exchange. Nixera's playful demeanor vanished. She stepped back, studying him with new intensity. You're right. It's not. She waved her hand, bringing up new holographic displays. What do you know about parallel dimensions? Theoretically, multiple realities existing simultaneously, possibly intersecting at quantum points. Marcus frowned. Why? Because your experiments weren't just manipulating spacetime, she said grimly. You were accidentally creating bridges between dimensions. Bridges that caught the attention of beings far more dangerous than my people. The holographs showed strange energy patterns, disturbingly familiar to what he'd seen in his lab. The Void Hunters, Nixera continued. Ancient entities that feed on entire realities. They've been dormant for millennia, but your work. She shuddered. You were unknowingly sending them an invitation. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. And you couldn't just warn Earth. Your governments wouldn't believe us. Most worlds require a catastrophe before accepting extraterrestrial reality. Her expression softened. I chose extraction over waiting for disaster. And I chose you because. She hesitated, because I recognized something in you. A spirit that reminded me of my own journey. What do you mean? Nixera's fingers brushed her neck, revealing a faint scar. I wasn't born into the stellar dominion. I was taken, like you, from a world that no longer exists. The Void Hunters found it first. The revelation stunned Marcus. He reached out, touching the scar gently. I'm sorry. She caught his hand, holding it against her skin. Don't be. I survived, adapted, became stronger. And now I have a chance to prevent history from repeating. Her eyes locked with his. But I need your help. To do what? To understand how your experiments bridge dimensions. To find a way to seal the gaps before they notice. She stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. And perhaps, to explore other kinds of connections. Marcus knew he should pull away, maintain professional distance. But the heat of her body, the intensity of her gaze, broke his resistance. When her lips met his, stars exploded behind his eyes. The kiss was electric, alien yet perfectly natural. They parted, breathing heavily. "This is a terrible idea," Marcus muttered. Nyxera smiled wickedly. "The best ones usually are." She began unlacing her garment. "Now, shall we conduct a more thorough cultural exchange?" Their passionate encounter was interrupted by blaring alarms. Nyxera cursed in her native tongue, quickly redressing. "We have company. Sovereign Drakkar's forces." "Who?" "The one who ordered your world's destruction." She tossed him strange-looking clothes. "Put these on. If they board us, you need to look like a proper concubine, not a prisoner." Marcus caught the revealing outfit, blushing. "You can't be serious." "Deadly serious." Nyxera checked weapon systems on a floating display. "The sovereign spies are everywhere. If they learn what we're really doing." She gave him a pointed look. "Strip. Now." As Marcus changed, feeling ridiculous in the flowing alien garments, Nyxera explained rapidly. "Drakkar leads the faction that wants to eliminate emerging civilizations before they become threats. If he learns how close humans are to dimensional manipulation, he'll order an immediate purge." "But you said you're part of the same military." "A military divided by ideology." Weapon ports hummed to life around the ship. "Some of us believe in guidance over destruction. Drakkar calls us soft, dangerous." Her smile turned predatory. "He's right about the dangerous part." A massive ship appeared on their view screen, dwarfing Nyxera's vessel. "Remember," she whispered, pulling Marcus close. "You're my personal pleasure slave, completely besotted. The better you act, the better our chances of survival." As transport beams began activating, Marcus whispered back, "Just how many pleasure slaves have you had?" Nyxera's answering wink did nothing to ease his concerns. "Jealous already, my pet. How delightfully human of you." The game was on, and Marcus could only hope they'd both survive the performance. The inspection by Sovereign Drakkar's forces proved intense but ultimately successful. Marcus played his role convincingly enough, though the experience left him with new questions about Nyxera's past. As their ship accelerated away from the encounter, a deeper conspiracy began to unfold. "We have a small window of opportunity," Nyxera explained, bringing up tactical displays. "Drakkar's forces are spread thin, dealing with growing unrest in the outer colonies. We're not the only ones who oppose his methods." Marcus studied the star charts, now dressed in more practical attire. "You're talking about rebellion." "Revolution," she corrected. The Stellar Dominion was meant to be a coalition of equals, not an empire ruled by fear. Drakkar's faction has corrupted our original purpose. A series of coded transmissions flickered across the screens. "These are from my network of allies, scientists, military officers, colony leaders. All waiting for the right moment to strike." "And what makes this the right moment?" Marcus asked. Nyxera's expression turned grim. "Because we've confirmed Drakkar isn't just destroying potential threats. He's harvesting dimensional energy from dying civilizations, trying to access the same forces you were experimenting with. But he's doing it wrong." She showed him data readings that made his blood run cold. "These energy signatures, they're like tears in reality." "Exactly. His experiments are drawing the attention of the Void Hunters even more than your work did. But he won't listen to warnings. He's convinced he can control them, use them as weapons." Marcus shook his head. "Based on what I've learned about dimensional physics from your databases, that's impossible. It would be like trying to control a black hole with a fishing net. Try telling that to a man who's drunk on power." Nyxera began inputting coordinates. "We're heading to the Nexus, a hidden space station where resistance leaders are gathering. Your knowledge could be the key to stopping him." Their journey took them through restricted sectors of space, avoiding patrol routes and monitoring stations. Nyxera proved herself a skilled pilot, using quantum tunneling technology to slip past detection grids. The Nexus, when they finally reached it, was a marvel of engineering. The station was built inside an asteroid, virtually invisible to normal scanners. As they docked, Marcus saw dozens of other ships of various designs, evidence of how far the resistance had spread. "Welcome to the heart of the revolution," Nyxera said as they walked through crowded corridors. Species from across the galaxy moved with purpose, united in their cause. Try not to stare too obviously at the four-armed ones. The Ketheri are sensitive about it. They entered a vast chamber where holographic displays showed military movements across the galaxy. A diverse group of beings turned to face them, clearly the leadership council Nyxera had mentioned. "Honored allies," Nyxera announced. "I present Marcus Foster of Earth, whose research may hold the key to preventing catastrophe." A tall, crystalline being stepped forward. "I am Coordinator ZYX. We have reviewed your work on dimensional physics. Most impressive, especially given your world's technological level." "Thank you," Marcus replied, trying to maintain composure. "Though I've learned my understanding was dangerously incomplete." "Precisely why we need you," another leader said, this one appearing almost fluid in form. "Drakkar's forces are preparing something big. Multiple quantum signatures detected near populated worlds." Nyxera tensed. "He's escalating the harvesting operations." "Worse," ZYX said. "Our spies report he's built a massive facility capable of channeling dimensional energy on an unprecedented scale. He claims he can open controlled gateways to other realities." Marcus felt sick. That's exactly what would draw the Void Hunters. The energy release would be like a beacon. "Then we must strike soon," Nyxera declared. "Before he dooms us all." The council erupted in debate. Some argued for immediate action, others for caution. Marcus watched Nyxera navigate the politics with surprising skill, building consensus through logic and persuasion. Finally, a plan emerged. The resistance would launch coordinated attacks on Drakkar's power structure, while a special team led by Nyxera would infiltrate the dimensional facility. Marcus would accompany them, using his expertise to prevent catastrophe. As the meeting concluded, Marcus pulled Nyxera aside. "You're quite the revolutionary leader. Were you planning this all along? Is that really why you took me from Earth?" She met his gaze steadily. "I took you to protect your world from the Void Hunters. Everything else," she touched his face gently, "was an unexpected gift from the universe. One I intend to keep, if you'll let me." Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. "Multiple quantum signatures detected," someone shouted. "Drakkar's found us." Nyxera's expression hardened. "It seems the universe has other plans." "Ready for your first space battle, Professor?" Marcus managed a grim smile. "Do I have a choice?" "There's always a choice." She drew her weapons. "That's what we're fighting for." As evacuation orders echoed through the Nexus, Marcus realized how far he'd come from his quiet lab on Earth. He was about to participate in an alien revolution, fighting forces that threatened multiple realities, alongside a woman who challenged everything he thought he knew about the universe. And somehow, he wouldn't have it any other way. The evacuation of the Nexus descended into controlled chaos as Drakkar's forces closed in. Marcus found himself running through twisting corridors alongside Nyxera, dodging weapons fire as enemy boarding parties breached the station's defenses. "We can't let them access the central database," Nyxera shouted over the din of battle. "It contains the locations of every resistance cell in the galaxy." She fired her quantum pistol, dropping 2 attackers with precise shots. Including the coordinates they'd need to find Earth. Marcus ducked behind a fallen support beam, his heart pounding. "Please tell me there's a plan beyond shooting our way out." "Always." Nyxera tossed him a small device. Emergency quantum transponder. If we get separated, activate it. It'll bring you to my ship. A massive explosion rocked the station. Through a breach in the hull, Marcus saw ships engaged in fierce combat against Drakkar's fleet. Energy weapons and dimensional torpedoes lit up space like artificial stars. They fought their way to the central computer core, where resistance technicians were already initiating emergency protocols. Data purge at 90%, one reported. But Drakkar's forces are attempting to breach the firewalls. Give me access, Marcus said, sliding into a control station. I might be able to help. His time studying alien technology proved invaluable as he reinforced the system's defenses, using principles of quantum encryption he'd learned from Nyxera. Impressive, she commented, covering the entrance with her weapon. You're full of surprises. I had a good teacher. He finished the sequence just as enemy troops burst through the far door. Data purge complete. Time to go. Nyxera grabbed his arm as explosions rocked the chamber. They ran for the emergency transport tubes, pursued by Drakkar's soldiers. They were almost to safety when a particle beam caught Nyxera in the shoulder, spinning her around. Marcus caught her before she fell, dragging her the final few meters into the transport tube. They materialized aboard her ship, which was already powering up for escape. I'm fine, Nyxera insisted, though her wound smoked slightly. Get to the weapon controls. This isn't over. She was right. As their ship joined the retreating resistance fleet, Drakkar's forces pressed their attack. Marcus found himself operating advanced weapons systems, targeting enemy vessels with quantum-guided missiles while Nyxera executed impossible maneuvers at the helm. They're not pursuing at full capacity, Nyxera noted, frowning at tactical displays. This was too easy. Easy? Marcus exclaimed. We barely escaped with our lives. Exactly. Drakkar's fleet could have trapped us, but they didn't. Which means... Her eyes widened. This was a diversion. Quick, show me the long-range scans of the dimensional facility. The data confirmed their worst fears. While the resistance fleet was occupied at the Nexus, Drakkar had accelerated his plans. The facility was powering up, dimensional energy readings off the charts. He's actually doing it, Marcus breathed. He's trying to open a gateway to the void. Not trying, Nyxera corrected grimly. Succeeding. Look at these readings. The scanners showed massive distortions in spacetime, centered on the facility. If those breaches expand... Marcus didn't need to finish the thought. They both knew what it meant. Plot a course, Nyxera ordered, her wound apparently forgotten in the crisis. We have to stop him before. She was cut off by a priority transmission. The holographic image of coordinator ZYX appeared, looking grave. Nyxera, we've detected quantum disturbances near Earth. Drakkar sent a strike force to your human's homeworld. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. Why? Earth isn't a threat to him. Leverage, Nyxera spat. He knows we'll try to stop his dimensional experiment. This is insurance. She turned to Marcus, her expression torn. We have to make a choice. The facility, or Earth. Marcus stared at the tactical display, showing both threats. The facility's energy readings were reaching critical levels. Earth was completely defenseless against Drakkar's technology. Either choice meant potential catastrophe. No, he said finally. We don't choose. We split up. Marcus. You take the resistance fleet to the facility. Stop Drakkar from opening that gateway. I'll go to Earth with anyone who can be spared. He met her gaze. I studied your quantum drives. I know how they work. I can coordinate Earth's defense until you finish the main mission. Nyxera stepped close, touching his face. It's a suicide mission. Earth has no defense against their weapons. Then I'll have to be creative. He managed a smile. You said that's why you chose me, remember? My unique perspective. She pulled him into a fierce kiss. You impossible human, she whispered. Don't you dare die. We have unfinished business. Same goes for you. Stop Drakkar. Save reality. Then come find me. As preparations were made to split their forces, Marcus found himself wondering if he'd ever see Nyxera again. But there was no time for doubt. 2 worlds needed saving, and the clock was ticking on both. The fate of Earth, the stellar dominion, and perhaps all of reality now hung in the balance. And somehow, a physicist from a primitive world had ended up in the middle of it all. The quantum jump to Earth's solar system revealed a nightmare scenario. 3 of Drakkar's warships hung in high orbit, already beginning their attack patterns. Marcus coordinated the small resistance force he'd been given, just 4 ships against superior numbers. Remember, he transmitted to his allies, Earth's militaries will detect this battle. We need to keep the fighting away from populated areas while I attempt contact with my world's governments. Using Nyxera's communication protocols, Marcus broadcast an emergency warning to Earth's major powers. The response was predictably chaotic: panic, disbelief, accusations of hoax. But when Drakkar's forces launched their first strike, destroying an uninhabited weather station, the reality of the situation became undeniable. This is not an invasion, Marcus transmitted. We're here to defend Earth. But we need your cooperation. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Nyxera led the main resistance fleet toward Drakkar's dimensional facility. The massive structure pulsed with ominous energy, reality itself warping around it. Energy signatures are off the scale, her science officer reported. The void breach is already beginning to form. Nyxera's grip tightened on her command chair. Then we better move fast. All ships, battle formation Delta. Prepare to engage. Back at Earth, Marcus had managed to convince enough military leaders to coordinate with his small force. They couldn't match Drakkar's technology, but they could provide tactical support and ground-based assistance. Their ships use quantum shielding, Marcus explained to a hastily assembled group of military commanders. But the shields have to fluctuate to allow their weapons to fire. That's our window. The battle for Earth became a desperate dance of timing and precision. Marcus used his knowledge of quantum physics to predict shield fluctuations, allowing Earth's conventional weapons to slip through at crucial moments. His alien allies provided coverage, drawing enemy fire and protecting vital infrastructure. At the facility, Nyxera's fleet engaged Drakkar's defenders in a massive space battle. But it was merely a distraction for her real plan. While the fleets clashed, she led a small team on a stealth mission into the facility itself. The core chamber is ahead, she whispered to her strike team. Remember, we only have one shot at this. Plant the quantum charges exactly as Marcus calculated. They encountered heavy resistance, but Nyxera's team fought their way through. Finally, they reached the massive chamber where Drakkar himself stood before a swirling vortex of dimensional energy. You're too late, he sneered, turning to face them. The void gates are opening. Ultimate power will be mine. You fool, Nyxera spat. You've doomed us all. Look. She pointed to the readings on nearby monitors. Those aren't gates, they're wounds in reality. And something's coming through. Dark shapes began to materialize in the swirling vortex, massive, incomprehensible forms that hurt the eyes to look at. The Void Hunters had arrived. On Earth, Marcus's desperate defense was succeeding, but at a cost. 2 of his alien allies had fallen, and Earth's military forces had suffered heavy casualties. Then his quantum communicator crackled to life. Marcus. Nyxera's voice was strained. The charges are planted, but Drakkar's locked us out of the detonation controls. We need your quantum encryption codes. While coordinating Earth's defense, Marcus quickly transmitted the complex mathematical sequence he'd developed. Be careful, he added. The blast will create a quantum cascade. You have to get out of there fast. Touching concern, Drakkar's voice cut in. But your human pet can't save you now, Nyxera. The Void Hunters are here. Soon they'll consume everything, except those who serve them. Wrong again, Nyxera said. Marcus heard weapons fire through the communication link. Marcus, now. His fingers flew across the alien controls, initiating the detonation sequence. The quantum charges exploded with precise timing, creating a feedback loop in the dimensional machinery. The vortex began to collapse, sucking the horrific shapes back into their own reality. No. Drakkar's scream was cut short as the facility began to tear itself apart. Nyxera. Marcus called desperately. Get out of there. Static answered him. The quantum link went dead. The battle for Earth had turned in their favor. Drakkar's ships, receiving news of their leader's defeat, retreated in disarray. Cheers erupted from military bases worldwide as humanity celebrated its first united victory against an alien threat. But Marcus felt no joy. Hours passed with no word from Nyxera. He was about to attempt a desperate quantum jump to the facility's last location when a familiar voice filled his ship's cabin. Miss me, my brilliant human. Nyxera's ship materialized beside his, scorched but intact. Her face appeared on his view screen, smiling despite a nasty cut on her forehead. Don't ever do that to me again, Marcus breathed. No promises. Her smile turned serious. We have a lot to discuss. Earth knows about aliens now. The stellar dominion is in chaos. The resistance leaders are calling for reform. Later, Marcus cut her off. Right now, I just want to see you. Their ships docked, and when the airlock opened, they fell into each other's arms. Their kiss was desperate, passionate, full of relief and promise. So, Nyxera murmured against his lips, ready to help me rebuild an interstellar civilization? Marcus laughed. As long as we do it together. Though we should probably explain things to Earth's leaders first. Always so practical. She kissed him again. That's why I love you. I love you too, my beautiful alien revolutionary. As their ships orbited Earth, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed since that night in his lab. He'd found love across the stars, helped save 2 worlds, and opened humanity's eyes to a larger universe. Not bad for a quantum physicist who just wanted to run an experiment. The adventure, it seemed, was just beginning.